12 US states have formed a coalition to openly oppose tariffs, mounting a challenge against Trump and demanding all China tariffs be eliminated. On May 21st, the US Court of International Trade heard a lawsuit filed by the 12-state coalition on April 23rd against Trump, aiming to force him to roll back tariffs and accusing his tariff policies of being illegal. The coalition's attorneys general oppose not only the reciprocal tariffs announced on April 2nd, but also the 20% tariffs on China imposed in February and March, essentially demanding that all China tariffs introduced by Trump in recent months be nullified. The trial centered on heated debates over the 1977 International Economic Emergency Powers Act (IEPA), the legal basis for Trump's tariffs. Under the US Constitution, the power to impose tariffs belongs to Congress. Presidents cannot levy tariffs in non-emergency situations. The IEPA stipulates that a president must first declare a national emergency to invoke its powers, with the perceived threat must come entirely or predominantly from abroad, and Congress must annually assess whether to extend the emergency status. Thus, before announcing reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd, Trump declared a national emergency to legally bypass Congress and impose tariffs without violating the Constitution, a move he also used before imposing tariffs on China in February and March. Trump administration lawyer Shumate argued in court that the IEPA grants the president authority to achieve trade negotiations and foreign policy goals through tariffs, which serve as negotiating leverage. He warned that revoking the tariffs would undermine the president's position in US-China trade talks. Throughout the trial, Shumate repeatedly claimed that the president's emergency actions under the IEPA are political questions beyond judicial review, prompting Judge Restoni to ask skeptically, "Is there no limit to what a president can do, no matter how irrational?" When pressed to identify actions exceeding the IEPA's scope, Shumate replied, "It's hard to imagine such a scenario, revealing Trump's apparent abuse of emergency powers." The plaintiff's core argument is that Trump's declared emergencies are unjustified, as no evidence proves tariffs are necessary for national security. In their lawsuit, the 12 state attorneys general emphasized that the Constitution vests tariff power in Congress and that presidents may only declare emergencies and impose tariffs when facing unusual and extraordinary threats from abroad. Trump's actions, they argue, have caused economic chaos and subverted constitutional order. Shumate insisted the tariffs fell within presidential authority, claiming Trump declared emergencies due to trade deficits hollowing out US manufacturing. When Judge Restoni questioned whether creating pressure qualifies as an emergency, Shumate doubled down that presidential actions under the IEPA are political and unreviewable. He claimed Congress has multiple tools to check presidential power and that Trump consulted legislators on tariffs, but he could not provide evidence of such consultations when pressed, repeatedly answering, "I don't know." Judge Restoni countered, "If the president lacks legal authority, the court cannot simply rubber stamp his actions. We cannot allow the president to act under the pretext that it's better for politics or the world if such actions are illegal," Judge Restoni emphasized. "I don't believe we can condone this. Many of the 12 states are manufacturing powerhouses highly dependent on Chinese intermediate materials. The tariffs have caused raw material costs to surge by over 15%, forcing some factories to shut down, initiate layoffs, and disrupting local finances, labor markets, and supply chains. A tangible crisis, not theoretical. Many local governments initially supported Trump's tough policies, but the problem lies in the tariffs being imposed without hearings, congressional approval, or policy assessments. The plaintiffs challenged in court, can a president dictate national policy via social media? They argued that this post-first, implement-later approach violates the Administrative Procedure Act, which requires formal policies to undergo evaluation, public hearings, and feedback processes not be triggered by a single social media post. The Trump team responded that social media is merely a communication channel, with policies formally issued by executive agencies. But the plaintiffs retorted, if so, why do markets and businesses treat presidential posts as official signals, and why does the White House often retroactively formalize them? The 12-state lawsuit is just the tip of the iceberg. As early as April 16th, California Governor Newsom announced plans to sue the Trump administration, charging that imposing tariffs on China, Mexico, and others under the national emergency pretext was illegal, dangerous, and causing irreparable economic harm. Trump's legal battles with state governors signal a full-blown intensification of domestic political conflicts. As the US's largest economy equivalent to the world's fifth largest, California's Silicon Valley, agriculture, and port trade rely heavily on globalization. Trump's tariffs paralyzed ports, bankrupted farmers, and halted tech operations. Newsom stated bluntly that Trump's illegal tariffs are inflating prices, destroying businesses, and making ordinary families pay for his political gambles. In essence, Trump's tariff blasts have backfired on American workers, forcing California to launch the first shot in this economic civil war. As of May 2025, the Trump administration is facing 8 tariff-related lawsuits, 6 of which are being heard by the Court of International Trade and 2 in federal courts. These lawsuits cover a wide range of issues, from allegations of anti-small business discrimination to violations of WTO rules and lack of environmental impact assessments. Some cases have entered the evidence review stage, and legal experts estimate the entire litigation process will take at least 1 year. Analysts note that this marks the first sustained legal challenge in recent years to a president's tariff policies. Among these lawsuits, the class action involving 12 states is particularly striking, featuring rigorous legal arguments and strong representativeness. While the 12 states publicly claim their goal is to eliminate tariffs and restore normal trade, their focus on the International Economic and Emergency Powers Act (IEPA) reveals a deeper strategic calculus. The IEPA was legislated to limit presidential tariff powers and prevent arbitrary use of such authority from disrupting the national economy and international trade order. However, Trump's abuse of these powers runs counter to Congress's original intent. By dragging Congress into this trade power struggle, the states aim to shift economic pressures and gain more political allies. At the core of this legal battle is the need to prove that no national emergency exists, which would render Trump's circumvention of Congress illegal and subject his actions to legal constraints. Regardless of the lawsuit's outcome, they underscore the fragility of Trump's political foundation. Since taking office, the US has faced a severe economic downturn, including a sharp stock market decline, massive treasury bond sell-offs, a weakening dollar index, and surging inflation. These intertwined crises have not only eroded investor confidence, making many businesses and investors wary of the US market, but also drastically impacted ordinary Americans' livelihoods, creating unprecedented financial strain. Notably, the 12 states are far from alone in their opposition. Even some Republican lawmakers and former Trump allies have joined the chorus against his tariff policies, recognizing that they hinder US economic growth and damage America's international standing. This internal dissent further undermines the Trump administration's legitimacy, exposing it to greater political pressures at home and abroad.